think what to me is super interesting is whether we could combine, let's say, the ARPU analysis and all the churn and retention metrics to factor the advertising revenue per user.
Hi everyone, for today's episode of Retention Zone, the video podcast focused on retention in streaming video, I have the pleasure to have with me Gilles Domartini, the CEO and founder of Cleeng. Hi Gilles.
Hello Carlo, good to be with you.
How are you? You're in space or are you somewhere in Amsterdam?
We are definitely living in a metaverse with all OTT development. So yes, we love this background. Gives a good inspiration when you do conf calls. And being a remote first companies, we do spend a lot of time in conf calls. So yeah, we like the background.
So the first question is, tell me a bit about Gilles. I know you are quite an experience in the industry, right?
Yeah, well, experience, it's been now 12 years that we started Cleeng, so quite a journey. Started with the idea that we could replicate iTunes as a white label platform. I joined Apple in 2001, just before the introduction of the iPod and iTunes, and seen really how easy to use, sleek interface could make a huge difference in an industry like with music and iTunes. And that's very much the genesis of Cleeng when we started 11 years ago to replicate iTunes as a white label platform.
I think I've seen news recently of, for example, Apple TV Plus maybe potentially bundling the offering with Paramount Plus. And the reason is because of churn. So, and I saw the numbers, like October was 7% churn. And I think it's a good math exercise, but 7% of churn is dramatic, right? So, and I know you work a lot around the prevention or reduction of churn, but how do you think churn became so relevant in the last maybe month, year, compared to the beginning where it was more, just a term for techies maybe? What's your view there? I know you spent a lot of time reasoning on that.
Yes, for sure. I think the industry has been shifting mindset from acquisition at all cost to profitability. I think that's the biggest impact, certainly on how managers, let's say, and management teams within various corporations are looking at development. So now, if you go to your board and say, "Hey guys, this is great. I was able to grow 20 or 30% or 50% or more, but I'm doing this at loss, and I don't see anytime soon where we could mitigate those losses." I would assume that your board will say, "Okay, well, this is not what you should be doing. You need to make sure that you are able to optimize your business models to make sure that you end up with profitability within the next 12 months, because we see huge risk that you are not able to finance yourself if you are not profitable." So I think this has changed heavily, let's say, the marketing focus from acquisition to retention. It's obvious, and it has been well proven, not just in OTT, but even before that in the CRM space, in the marketing space, that acquiring a user is about 5 to 10 times more expensive than keeping a user. So this is really a very substantial number. And to keep your users, there are always a few simple things to do. Could go further into details. The first one, certainly the obvious one, but sometimes people underestimate, is so-called involuntary churn, everything related to payment, which remains about half of the total churn that we are seeing. So this is a bit silly, if you would say, because the user is still keen to pay, but the processes that support payment fail, and therefore you have substantial amount of churn happening. And the second dimension is more the voluntary churn. And there, content bundling, like you were mentioning, between Paramount and Apple, are actually interesting strategies. In my view, it tackles a number of KPIs that are important nowadays. One is synergies, cost synergies. So instead of fighting with many competitors, you start to federate a bit more, some of the efforts, and here are the efforts in content creation. The second one is user benefit. I think it's clear that from a user standpoint, I mean, we all have, let's say, a bit that fading engagement with a given platform. It's a Netflix was very strong from day one, but they were a bit on their own. But one thing they were able to do fairly fast in their journey, already, I think 5-6 years ago, they started to invest billions in content creation, and thanks to that, their catalog is fairly rich today. I think is definitely a smart choice. So.
I wanted to ask you about your view on, obviously, the moment Netflix said maybe subscription is not enough, let's go ad model, which the ad based, which they said they never would do, and then also fast channels, which is again one of the buzzwords of the last 2 years. What's your view on this hybrid monetization model that is growing? What it means for, in the play of acquisition, retention, how do you see this flow?
Personally, I admire this type of more advanced business model. I like the simplicity, that's for sure. So everything we do, we always think, how is it simple for the user to experience, the product? Where ad-based is interesting is that it has no constraint with the user. So as a user, you get there, you start to watch. Yes, you get a bit of advertising, but let's say your experience with the content is okay to start with. And there's plenty of good examples of great success with this kind of hybrid. I think Spotify has been certainly the innovator in the category long ago, with an ad-supported music tier, and then you had the premium tiers. And I think still today, a lot of the acquisition, about 2/3 of their new users, do remain on the advertising tier. So that's a good indication. And they do remain a dominant player, despite, I would say, the power that has Google and Apple on their device. So that's very good to see that they are able to create a very unique product. I think what YouTube did is also amazing. And it's really remarkable that YouTube first came as a very consumerish, long tail, cats and dogs type of platform, now is by far the largest broadcaster worldwide, and is able to offer this mix of offering. And whether you are a creator, just doing gym classes or guitar classes, or sharing your knowledge and your passion in a given field, or you are a large network, you can sell through YouTube. So YouTube is a very good benchmark, I think, of what the industry should be evolving toward. It's not easy, I think, to mix these two. YouTube knew how to do it from an advertising standpoint, and I don't know if they nailed it on the e-commerce part.
No.
Yeah, you tend to see also a bit the same.
No, but maybe then the new YouTube TV and YouTube and Prime, etc. Maybe, but on traditional YouTube, the moment they said, okay, we can do live streaming, you can do your own channel, we thought streaming for vendors is dead, and then it didn't happen. So
yeah, indeed. So here, I think we need to look at how do we bring our expertise in e-commerce, because that's very much what we focus on, and partner with companies which are more in the advertising space. I think what to me is super interesting is whether we could combine, let's say, the ARPU analysis and all the churn and retention metrics to factor the advertising revenue per user, and to see, okay, maybe Carlo, you are no longer a subscriber, but you are still generating $1 or $2 a month through advertising. So there's an opportunity for an upgrade. So that's great. Myself, I may be ready to downgrade, but if I have an offer to say, okay, well, you can downgrade for maybe half price, but you get, I don't know, a little bit of advertising, I would say, okay, why not? So I strongly believe that this is the future of the industry. And this type of models will just reinforce in the next 2-3 years, that's for sure.
No, I agree. As the models become flexible on the front end, everything else should adapt and become flexible, because it's not only paying subscriber that churn. It's even at whatever free users that they can churn, because I watch a bit and then I don't, or I move in this complex funnel. So totally agree. Give me, as I know you spend a lot of your time and with your team, etc. on this, give me a 360 degrees about retention. So what are the tools and the best practices available when I start thinking, okay, I definitely need to improve my, churn, improve my retention rate. What should I look at?
I think is certainly evaluate internally within your organization your level of marketing and CRM maturity. It may sound like a given, but I think a lot of companies, they may throw the wrong people to address this type of concerns or topics. Doing marketing is a skill, and it's important that you have the right profiles internally to help, let's say, understand and foster some form of innovation internally around retention. And if you don't have these resources internally, maybe find some partners. There are great agencies that are capable of doing this and facilitate that process for some time. Then I think what is very important is to be able to work with tools that give you a form of 360 view of the behavior of your consumers. There are a lot of different touch points, that we collect as a technology platform, whether it is about how people are logging in, what do they watch, how long do they watch, was there some buffering, so everything related to the consumption aspect. Then there's things related a bit to the commerce related aspect, so which offer we choose, did they go for a free trial first, did they go for a monthly offer, yearly offer, did they take the standard package, higher package, premium package? So there's a lot of information associated with the offer management, the payment also, what type of payment method they've been using, if they paid through the app stores or if they paid directly. There's a sense of confidence when people are using their own credit card. They believe strongly in the service that you provide, while if they pay through an app store, well, we assume that the app store will protect them to some extent. So all the payment is very important. You have elements of customer care, which we also consider important, from the general UX and how many people are contacting your customer care for some form of bugs or unclarities as they experience your platform, and when they contact the customer care, whether they're satisfied or not with the answers that they were given. So these various, I would say, criteria and attributes do play a strong role in the analysis of retention patterns and the propensity of churn by these users. I think that's very much what Cleeng has been investing in for the past 5 years now. I think we were the first in the industry to have a dedicated data lake to consolidate all of these data points. And thanks to being the first there, I mean, now 5 years of investments, we have super advanced machine learning models that are able to predict. We claim on monthly subscriptions of typical broadcast model. We can predict with 92 to 95% accuracy the propensity of churn by your users. So it's very high level of accuracy. And then once you have this, the biggest challenge is actionability.
So, what you do exactly?
What
you need to take action, otherwise.
Absolutely. So you have a lot of companies which are, we can tell you everything about why you people are churning. Okay, great. And you see the reports. Okay, what shall I do next? Say, well, I don't know. You guys figure it out. So here we pre-package 12 different segments according to the attributes that we identify as most important within your platform. And we tell you, okay, these are the 12 that you should go after. So it makes it way easier for the marketing teams to say, these are the win-back campaigns. These are the free trial conversion campaigns. These are the people with low value type of behavior based on their payment method, based on the offer they selected. Therefore, they are like the price sensitive group. And you need to go with a more price sensitive type of offering. So we help it. We help to make it very easy. And if you have, on the other end, let's say the right people that can interpret that information and this type of campaigns, then they can very quickly, with the marketing agencies, create the campaigns which are relevant. So it's fairly simple in a way. It may be a bit new to the OTT industry, but if you take other industries, like in the press industry, this has been existing for many years, or in some of the FMCG goods, I mean, they've been operating also in a very similar fashion, even if it was not subscription directly related.
Yeah. Can you explain, because it took me some time to understanding when I was working on it, what means merchant of record?
So when, let's say you sell online, currently you have two main channels that are operating. You have the web channel and you have the app stores. App stores, you have Apple, Google, Roku, and so on. When you sell through the app stores, the app store itself is the merchant of record. So basically, if you, Carlo, you buy your Netflix subscription from Apple, then you will receive actually an Apple bill. You don't receive a Netflix bill, right?
Exactly.
So Apple is a merchant of record. And that's very convenient, for many companies. You don't need to deal with tax. You don't need to deal with all the payment optimization activities, compliance risk, which are substantial nowadays. The market is evolving very fast. So it became very comfortable. If you're a sport federation, you don't really know how to do all of this. Payment-related activities, tax management activities,
and it's different. It could be different in every region or country, then, because legislations are different.
Very true.
If you're a global company, obviously, if you're a global media company.
If you're global, it's quite challenging because every market has different fiscal rules. You have all this notion of nexus per market. You need to always stay up to date. And the payment optimization, I mean, like, for example, in Europe, credit card companies are highly regulated, and all the processes associated with credit card companies is highly regulated. In the US, it's largely unregulated, so people can do a little bit of what they want, which affects conversion rate, because depending on how you parameter elements, you may not get the same approval levels than if you adapt a little bit this kind of approvals, and it affects greatly your cost structure, and that goes fast. You can quickly lose half a point or a point of margin, so very substantial, for your P&L, if you don't parameter this properly. So there, the app stores have been doing a great job. You pay 10-15% more or less, right, to Apple and Google and the others to process that. But then when it comes to the web, you had to do it yourself historically. There was no good solution. And I think Cleeng, with our background, so I was mentioning at the beginning, used to work for Apple in the early days on the Apple stores. Been working in e-commerce for very long now, since '96, so very early days. And we built a platform that can do this at scale. And actually, most of the clients that we work with, even the most prestigious, like NFL in the US, we recently launched beIN Sport and Todd in Middle East. They do use Cleeng as a merchant of record for the web.